What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Trout Wrangler Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Garrity. It is currently Friday, March 28th at about 4 o'clock p.m. Um, like I said, season 2. We had a guest on Tuesday. That was our first episode of season 2. So I want to just take a little bit of time to introduce myself. If you haven't listened, what to expect, what's coming next for the podcast, and just what's coming down the pipeline for us here at Rise Fly Charlotte and the Trout Wrangler Podcast. First off, if you haven't listened to this podcast, I'm your host. Like I said, Ryan Garrity. I am currently in Charlotte, North Carolina. I honestly started out as a bass fisherman, and I always loved to fly fish as well. Bought my first combo. It was like a old Fluger at Bass Pro Shops for $50, and started bouncing around to ponds and throwing really any little fly that I could find at bluegill, bass, crappie, however you want to say it. And the real thing that I was like, this is fun as hell was went over to a neighborhood near my parents' house, and I actually went and caught 50 shellcracker during the shellcracker spawn, and shellcracker and bluegill, I should say. And the way those fish, as small as they were, fought on a fly rod, I was like, this is addicting. Very addicting. And at the time, like I said, I was probably late middle school, early high school, and I had them on the second episode of the first season. Colton Harrell was my fishing partner. We fished high school tournaments, college tournaments, and all that stuff, Wildcat tournaments together. And something that always came back into my hands when our tournament season ended was my fly rod. We go up to Wilson Creek and other places to fly fish, and we had a blast doing it. The first time I went to Wilson Creek, I sucked. Never figured it out that day, really, because that was like my first real time probably fly fishing on a creek, like a stream kind of thing. And if you know anything about Wilson Creek in late August, anytime in the summer, you're going to have 1,000 people out there in inner tubes floating the river. So kind of hard to find some fish. We tried to get to higher elevation, and Colton caught a shellcracker. But trying to put that puzzle together up in Wilson Creek that day fascinated me. And it was one of those things that I was like, you know what? This is pretty fun. I could see myself doing this. So, I went through the same routine. Fall, we'd have like 4 high school tournaments. I'd fish those 4 tournaments. Towards the end of the fall, that fly rod would come back in. We'd start hopping around ponds. My buddy's pond at his house. We'd start hopping around and catching panfish, bass, even carp, catfish on a fly. So, always had fun doing that. But I was always tied up bass fishing come early fall and then most of the spring. So 2 of the best times to fly fish was taken up on a bass boat on the lakes with conventional stuff in my hands. And then whenever I got out of college, I have my bass boat. I was still fishing wildcats here and there, but I picked up the fly rod a little bit more. Hop around to those ponds, started going to streams and different rivers in western North Carolina, and fishing, starting to learn stuff and learn entomology kind of thing. Um, and then college come fall, we were fishing. Uh, we were fishing tournaments, club tournaments, national tournaments for BASS and FLW. And we kind of lost that sense of fly fishing, going and pond hopping and stuff like that once we got to college, because we were always too busy cutting up. When you get to college, you have more of a good time than good grades. But we were doing all that bass fishing, traveling around. So I didn't get much time to fly fish, and then even less time until I graduated from East Carolina University in 2019. And I took an internship up in Cashiers, North Carolina for a golf and lake club where I was on the outdoor pursuits team. So I did anything from taking people on their wakeboard boats, taking people on the rented wakeboard boats at the lake club. Excuse me. Excuse me. Taking people on the wakeboard boats that they booked from the club. I do a little bass fishing guiding off on my boat and on some of the club boats. I kept my bass boat literally right at the lake club dock. Or it was my buddy Josh's family's house dock, so it's right next to the lake club. So that was kind of nice. Where I'd just go, walk down, hop on the boat, shoot over to the lake club, pick people up, and then we'd go fishing. So when I wasn't doing that, me and one of my good friends, Michael Parks, we would go fly fishing. Go up to Cherokee, we go to Davidson, we go Panthertown Valley, Courthouse Creek, wherever we could try and find some trout, we'd go. We don't care if it was a damn puddle on the side of the road. We're going to go and try and check and see if there were trout in that thing. But we'd go all over the place. We'd hop into shops, and we'd hang around Brookings Anglers up there in Cashiers, literally right by my townhome. And we'd just hang out and try and soak in. Michael was more of a experienced angler than I was, so he didn't really have to soak in the information that I did. But when I was over at the shop, I'd just shoot the shit with locals, shoot the shit with the guides, shop guys. I loved to do that stuff. So that's where I really fell into that rotation of like, you know what? I'm starting to get more time to fly fish. I'm starting to love it. And my fly fishing time is starting to take over that bass fishing time. So, I worked out the rest of that internship, and came back to Charlotte, worked for a couple boat dealerships, stuff like that. Then ended up working for North Carolina Wildlife in their maintenance division. Had a blast doing it. Literally, would cut the grass at the boat ramps, take out the trash, all of that stuff. But before all that, I was working at Bass Pro in the marine electronics section. and really anything I could get my feet wet in. That kind of sounded weird, but anything that I could try and go and familiarize myself with, I would try to. Um, so like I said, after Bass Pro, started working at North Carolina Wildlife, and at the end of my contract with North Carolina Wildlife, I was a temp employee. So after that, I re-signed and then ended up getting a recreation job down in Florida. That's what my degree was in, recreation and parks management. And so I shipped on down to Florida, working for the Villages, if you've ever heard of it, and started bass fishing a little more. When you're down in Florida, it's hard not to bass fish. They got giants down there, and I had one of the best chains of lakes, like 20 minutes out my back door. Tow my boat to the lake, 20 minutes, be on the water, and potentially boat flipping over 5-pound fish in 45 minutes. Hard not to bass fish. While I was in Florida, started having problems with the boat, and I was like, you know what? One day I was like, I'm gonna start just trying to beat the banks on foot around Central Florida, Crystal River area, and I went to Sodium Fishing Tackle, bought myself an 8-weight Reddington Path, and went to a trail in Crystal River, Florida. It was a hiking trail, walking trail, whatever you want to call it, and was chasing reds, chasing whatever would really bite my damn hook at that point. And I'd just sit out there all day. Some days would be better than others. Some days sucked. Some days were great. And, other days were just downright freaking horrible. So, ended up picking up that fly rod and doing more fly fishing again. Really was one of those things where I was like, I don't really want to sink the money into my boat to get it fixed, but I still want to, get that little bit of adrenaline rush whenever I hook a fish. So grabbed an 8-weight, started doing all that, started having less and less luck in Crystal River, and I got on a Facebook page and started looking for other spots until I came across a spot in Titusville, Florida. Started going there and catching micro tarpon. And once I caught one micro tarpon, buddy, it was over. I was hooked all over again. Like I just blasted 50 panfish that one day in a neighborhood pond. So I ended up leaving Florida in 2 years for coming back to North Carolina for some unforeseen reasons. The way it shook out, one of those things I had to move back home. And when I got back home, I had the boat still. I was fishing little wildcat tournaments again. And met my now girlfriend and moved out towards Mountain Island Lake. And one night, I fished a Thursday nighter. Left my rods and reels in my car, or in my truck. Somebody broke into the truck, stole all my bass fishing rods and reels, and only left me with 3. So, only ones I had left were my 3 fly rods, because I did eventually upgrade from the Fluger that I had, and ended up getting I had a Reddington with a Orvis Encounter, and I ended up breaking the Orvis Encounter Ended up getting a Reddington Trout Classic 3 weight. Broke the Classic Trout 3 weight. And ended up buying that 8 weight in sodium fishing tackle. So I still had rods, still had something to scratch the itch, get that adrenaline pumping a little bit, and was hopping around from pond to pond with an 8 weight, and then a 5 weight Bass White River Fly Shop, Bass Pro Shop, Silver Doctor. So I just hop around, fish those ponds, and then it was one of those things. The boat, I was throwing good money at bad. And ended up selling the bass boat, which leaves me here in front of a computer screen talking fly fishing with you guys, and now my fly rod arsenal has about tripled. I got a 3 weight, a 4 weight, a 5 weight, a 6 weight, and my 8 weight. So now I have 5 rods, and I've started an account called Rise Fly Charlotte. And I've started this podcast, obviously called the Trout Wrangler Podcast. But like I said, we just finished season 1, so that was like a little bit of a background to me. We just finished season 1, and some people are probably asking, so what the hell's next with this weird dude in his podcast and his fly tying Instagram account? Well, I kind of have a lot coming. Got some stuff in the works. I got something that's gonna come around with a couple fly shops in the Western North Carolina area, and I'm hoping to keep this going on. It is called the Western North Carolina Fly Shop Spotlight. A little bit about that. As we all know, Hurricane Helene ran through Western North Carolina. Absolutely devastating stuff had happened. Half that area still isn't completely back to normal. No matter what the media tells you. A lot of those little small mountain towns that we used to love, that we used to go through on the way to some of our favorite rivers, aren't in a good way still. But a lot of these small town local fly shops stepped up to the plate. A lot of these fly shops are the epicenter of their little towns. And they stepped up and they established themselves as the meeting places in their respective areas. Like, for example, the Headwaters Outfitter shop was like a big meeting place for the Rossman Talksaway communities. Hendersonville Outfitters was kind of like a outpost for those communities. All these shops were gathering together to do all these GoFundMes, the waiter and waiting boot donations, so that all the first responders and people helping could protect themselves from all the stuff that washed into those waters. A lot of these shops stepped up. And for that, I'm starting the Western North Carolina Fly Shop Spotlight, where I will be highlighting a fly shop every week. And I will be just highlighting it, giving them their flowers, giving them their praise for what they did for their communities. Because, a lot of these towns are open now, And the best thing for these little communities is to go and shop at these little local businesses, go eat local food, go drink their local beers, um, and just go and have a good time in those towns and try and build these economies back up for these smaller towns in Western North Carolina. So that's what the Fly Shop Spotlight is. I will also be in that little realm there for the Fly Shop Spotlight. I'll also be going and shining a spotlight on those local breweries. What's better than a trip to a fly shop and finishing it off with a local beer? That's just me, but we got that coming down the pipeline. Um, we got some more guests coming, which is awesome. Um, a lot of cool guests in the works. Still working some of them out. Next week we got the Riverside Wranglers on their local to Charlotte. And then we got hopefully the Farmington River meme guy will be Farmy will be on, and we just got some good stuff coming down the pipeline to where I'm trying to put the best guys on this podcast that I can. Um, in season 1, I mean, we had some awesome guests. James Garrison. Um, we had Ian McCreary on there twice. We had um, Caleb York. We had Lewis McCooch from McCooch Craft Boats. I want to keep putting these good guests in front of you guys. I want to let them shout out their companies. I want to give these guys their flowers. I want people to tell awesome fishing stories. I want people to tell the funny story about when they shit their waders in the Watauga River. Um, I want people to tell those stories about when they busted their ass in the middle of the Davidson. I've done it. But that's one of those things. I'm just wanting to put the best podcast in front of you guys that I can. On the YouTube side, I'm not great at this stuff, but I'm gonna try and do some cool videos to where it's like something outside of the ordinary. My ultimate goal for this podcast is to provide a very authentic, a very different, and kind of like could be rough around the edges at sometimes experience where everybody can come together. If you're not learning something, you're laughing. Um, and a lot of people are probably like, yeah, this, like, he's not polished. I just shaved actually, but I used to have a grubby beard. It's going to come back. Some people might say I have a mouth like a sailor. I do curse a little bit, sometimes more than others, but you know what? That gives this show character. So just hang on and listen, because it is gonna be cool. I'm hoping this gets a little larger on this podcast, but I just got off on a tangent there. I was talking about YouTube and went right back to the podcast and went off way over. That's another thing. This might be another tangent, but if you didn't notice through season 1, I have horrendous ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. I can talk about 8 bazillion things at once. Hang in there. We might cover 40 topics in one episode. But you know what? You'll probably laugh doing it. But yeah, so the YouTube. Sorry, back to that. The YouTube got some stuff coming. A lot of stuff up in the mountains. Gonna incorporate some of the stuff for the Western North Carolina fly shop spotlight into some of these videos. Um, Gonna incorporate some local restaurants, some local breweries into those. Whether it's in Rossman, Brevard, Cherokee, Tuckasegee. We're going to try and cover a lot of damn bases this summer is what I'm trying to say. We're going to go all over this state and maybe some more. Trying to put this stuff in front of you guys. And I cannot wait to do it. But at the same time, I do have a full-time job and I have to remember that. Because I don't want to go planning all this stuff and be like, fuck, I still got a full-time job that I need to tend to, which I wouldn't want to have it any other way. Makes you grind a little more, in my opinion. But, so that should be part of the videos. Like I said, I'm going to have the Riverside Wranglers on the podcast next week. We're all three of us are from Charlotte. So that's going to be a cool little video series. Just little urban creek fishing videos. Some cool stuff like that. I got all the tools to make a good YouTube series. I just never put in the time to try and do it. And I've actually finally said, like, you know what, I'm just gonna fucking do it. But knowing me, I'm gonna say that, and I'll probably get way too sidetracked and get way too excited to fish a few times and just not even do it. Which, that's not bad. It's always going to be about the fishing. First things first, it is always going to be about the fishing, and I am not going to start breaking out cameras at the river until I catch my first fish. That is my rule. When I catch my first fish, I'm going to start breaking out the cameras. If I don't catch fish, guess what? The camera's not coming out of the fucking truck all day. But that's a thing. So we'll do a lot with Riverside Wranglers. The fly shop spotlight stuff, just little videos. Gonna keep doing fly time videos. Go live on TikTok a lot. I'm gonna try and find a way to where I can go live on all three platforms: YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at the same time. And so I can follow all the comments and stuff like that. All on one little device. So just still trying to work through all the trials and tribulations of this stuff. But we're trying. That's the thing. We might not be 100% from the 3-point line, but at least we're shooting. You can't say you went 100% from the 3-point range if you're not shooting. But so that and then we'll do fly time videos. I go live on all those. I go live every night. So that's a big thing. Still trying to get the freaking website up. Still trying to get the website up. At some point, it will be up, and I am hoping that it is as perfect as I want it to be, where I can just embed once I get it up, the only maintenance it needs is me embedding the week's podcast episode into the website. So, that's on the horizon. We got maybe some merch coming. I know the guys at Riverside, they're working on mocking me up something for a exclusive Charlotte Hornets Charlotte Hornets Rise Fly sticker. I think that's going to be pretty sick whenever it gets done. I told them no rush on that because they do have their own stuff going on. And the last thing I need to worry about is another sticker. I want to try and get some hats. I want to try and get some T-shirts going. Nothing too serious, just like, T-shirt. Something with a logo on it, maybe on the back. Have some words or something like that. Simple shit. Don't want to get too flashy with it. But might have some of that coming. Need to make some more stickers. Maybe some better koozies a little bit down the road. Everybody likes to enjoy a cold beverage here and there, so koozie never hurt anybody. I did a order of them not long ago, but they ended up getting freaking absolutely pounded. But I'm going to try and incorporate a few more question sections. So when I have an episode like this, the podcast just isn't dead, So gonna keep the Trout Tunes season 1 playlist going. And I know it's not season 1 anymore, but I started Trout Tunes season 1 a little later in the actual season 1, so we're gonna let it go through about halfway season 2 and then start season 2. But speaking of the Trout Tunes playlist, I have to pick my 5 songs for today, and I didn't get to share my 5 songs last week, so I'm going to share them. My 5 songs from last week were some I had some bangers last week, honestly. Or on Tuesday, I meant. Sorry, not last week. But my 5 songs for Tuesday were Dirty Water by the Standals, a New England classic. Homesick by Noah Kahan, another New England classic. Ramblin' Man by the Allman Brothers, New England classic. Blackwater by the Doobie Brothers. And then Steam Powered Aeroplane by Green Sky Bluegrass. And then today's we got my first one is Georgia Ways by Quavo, Luke Bryan, and Teddy Swims. I think that song's a banger. Real good one. Atlantic City by the band. Up on Cripple Creek by the band. And then we need 2 more still. I was going to do these today, and I ended up not doing it. We got a little PYT by Michael Jackson. That's a banger. And then we got, let's see. And then we'll go Mary Jane's Last Dance by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. That is a freaking classic. So, that's my Trout Tunes season 1. Let's see how many we got. 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yep, we got 5. And honestly, not a musician. I can't play a damn instrument. You kidding me? But my musical taste goes all over the place, and this playlist is pretty often authentic to every guy that I have had on this show. So this is a pretty sweet playlist. I'll post it on my Instagram story, my Snapchat story, and my TikTok story, and all that. Like after this, it's been linked in the bio for the few last few episodes, so I'll just post it on there if you guys are interested in the playlist. Listen to it. I must say it is a great playlist. Absolutely great playlist. So that's about it for the Trout Tunes Season 2 playlist, or this Trout Tunes Season 1 picks of the week. And we did have a few questions on the TikTok page, so we shall get to that. Let's see, where is it? Where the hell is it? It was right here, maybe. Oh, that's a little loud. Let's see. Here it is. All right. Well, let's see. I think we had a few. We had a few. Yeah, we had more than just a couple. Let's see. What is the best fly for beginners to start tying? I have a lot to say about this topic. So the best fly for beginners to start tying, once you get acclimated with like your tools and the whole process of everything, you're pretty good with tying after that. But if it were me and I was starting out tying again and I have never tied before, I would start with something like a squirmy wormy. Not even like, depending on what kind of squirmy wormy. There's some squirmy wormies that are very much so harder to tie than others. But try with a sandworm worm, a squirmy. Let's see. As much as it pains me to say, a mop fly. Woolly buggers, and let's see. I'll be honest, zebra midges, bigger ones. Anything like that requires not very little, but like very little bits of material. Those are super good to tie for beginners. On another note, off of this question, I have a lot of people ask me in lives and stuff like that, what is the best vice for beginners? The best vice for beginners, in my opinion, is go on to Amazon, go and buy a C clamp, and buy some very simple materials that you can learn to tie with, and just look up mop fly recipe, woolly bugger recipe. Just look up things like that, and when the recipe pulls up, I know Fly Fish Food does a great job of this, just listing out every single ingredient, I should say, that you need. Literally everything. Pick up those materials, pick up a C-clamp vise, and start tying, you know? I will say, though, at the same time, that from a material standpoint, that Orvis fly tying kit has some fantastic material. The vise in it, completely different story. That vise is trash. But I hope that information, Perry, is something that can help you out. And then the other one, Jake Bentley, asked me, what is the hardest fly you've had to tie? Definitely our articulated streamers. Articulated streamers just piss me off. I end up nicking my fingers and all that stuff, I end up that freaking chenille or the dub brush ends up going the complete wrong way, and I end up way more pissed off than I want to be. So that's about it for the question segment. But like I said, looking forward to a great season. Looking forward to a great summer. I am super, super interested to see where I go. I'm gonna see what we do this summer. There's so much that I haven't done yet that I do want to do, even in the state of North Carolina from a fly fishing standpoint. So we're gonna try and knock some of those off of our list this summer. So can't wait. Looking forward to it. We're gonna grind, put as much stuff in front of your guys' eyes as we can, and just have a good time doing it. But until next week, that is the end of our podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. I just wanted to come on here on a Friday and just kind of reintroduce myself to people who haven't watched the show yet. But until next week, wrangle some trout this weekend. Drink a few adult beverages. Do whatever you do. But Rise Flies will be back with you guys on Tuesday. Thank y'all.